Guys, welcome to this bonus episode of Pulp Kitchen, the episode 100 bonus.
That's right.
We don't count the bonus episodes numbered, but they're in there. They're supplemental.
That's absolutely
Thank
right.
you so much for listening to episode 100. If you haven't listened to it, please go and listen to episode 100.
Get back
Came
into it.
out on Wednesday. Today, George, we're talking about the films that we didn't want to talk about in the main episode.
Mm-hmm.
Today, you're going to be talking about Bottoms. I'm going to be talking about Anatomy of a Fool.
Yes.
But George, Bottoms, you got the chance to see
Yes,
it this week.
I did.
Tell me more.
I like this because we've sort of spun off and caught different films and we're coming back together.
Very different films,
yes.
I think. Yeah.
Oh, yes, very different. So Bottoms is a film directed by Emma Seligman. It's her sophomore film, her second feature film, after she made a film about 2 years ago called Shiver Baby, which was this really tight 79-minute film, which was kind of a black comedy, but also incredibly claustrophobic about a shiver, and the main character played by Rachel Sennott, who is stuck at this shiver with her family, and there are loads of secrets, and there's an affair, there's lots of stuff. It's tense, it's uncomfortable, it's funny, and it was a really interesting movie. And I was really, ever since then I was like, oh, I'm going to watch out for what Emma Seligman does next. Yeah. So here comes Bottoms, and Bottoms is actually co-written by Seligman and Rachel Sennott. Now, Rachel Sennott is an actor. If you didn't know these two films, you'd know her. Was in Bodies as well. And it's produced by Elizabeth Banks, and it stars Rachel Sennott as well, and also Ayo Edebiri from The Bear. And
She was on our list of most
exciting actors.
Go and check that episode out.
Also features really a whole kind of cast of quite new talent, new faces. Kaya Gerber's in there, Gerber? I think it's Gerber. Cindy Crawford's daughter.
Yeah.
And also Marshawn Lynch, who was a former NFL player. Bottoms. What is the premise of Bottoms? Well, Bottoms has been described as like a raucous, bloody, horny teen sex comedy.
Yeah, I've seen the trailer.
Right, because I hadn't. Here's the thing.
Right.
So I'll get to that. So about PJ and, oh God, they're two names. I'm going to just call them Rachel Sennott and Ayo Edebiri.
Yeah.
They play two gay best friends who are classic high school tropes. They really want to sleep with people, but they haven't slept with anyone. And, you kind of have this opening scene where they go to this kind of like homecoming fair where they see the girls they really want to, like these two cheerleaders who they really want to like sleep with. And it's like kind of funny and awkward. And at the same time, you have all the sort of men in the film, the quarterbacks are like hysterical, ridiculous characters, very much like a bunch of Kens, actually, like the Barbie Ken.
Yeah. And
through a random sort of set of plot circumstances, what happens is Rachel Sennott's character and Ayo Edebiri, they set up a fight club, or ostensibly
that was the jump I did.
Yes, exactly, a self-defense class for women, but one of them is like it's a fight club for women at the school. And they're saying, oh, yeah, it's for self-defense, but really they're doing it with the pretense of trying to get close to and hopefully sleep with the cheerleaders that they fancy, right? That's the kind of setup.
It's like the flip of that from like decades past would be like the football guy joining the theatre thing.
Oh, yeah.
With the theatre
Fish out of
girl.
water,
Yeah.
well, let's just like lie away, or she's the man kind of
Yeah.
thing. So I'm really excited to see Bottoms, and I... Not only because like it was this, like I said, I was interested in the filmmaker, but because it has this kind of like energy about it and had lots of great reviews. It came out in the States maybe about 2 months ago and looked like rapturous reviews. I was like, this is looking good. And actually, I hadn't watched a trailer, I hadn't watched any material on it because I just didn't need to. I was like, I'm already want to see it.
It's my new thing.
And I think the first thing to say about Bottoms is that it is like, and it did actually slightly catch me off guard. It is incredibly wacky and crazy and absurd and silly, and I've seen people call it like a satire. I mean, I didn't see that in there at all, actually. Okay. But what it is absolutely a film that is punky and different and celebrates women, queerness, and also just being different in the kind of high school context.
I also think, it's really hard to, I think, do the high school typical teenage drama right now because I feel like it's become its own side genre, and it's very easy to sort of...
It's like every take almost has to reinvent the wheel.
Yes,
with
completely. I think it's quite hard to do that at the moment.
And so that's the kind of done in this really absurd style. I will also say, actually, before I jump into my review, that I also like straight away was like, this film isn't made for me.
Right.
I accept this film is not made for me. No, the way I just described it about being women, queerness, and difference. It's like I fully recognize that as a straight white male member of the audience. Like, this isn't made for me. That's totally fine. Here's the thing with Bottoms, though. Despite my excitement for it, and despite being really open to it, I just didn't get on with it. Yeah. And I've been thinking about why it is. And the thing is, I just didn't find it very funny. Yeah. And if it's not funny, it doesn't work at all. And that's not that's a really kind of boring takeaway to say. It's a 90-minute film, so it's not long. Yeah. But within 20 minutes, I was like, oh, wow, why is this not clicking with me? And I was really thinking about why it wasn't making me laugh. And I think the first thing is this style, this really, really absurdist style. I found didn't work and really threw me off. And I'm open season for all kinds of comedy. I love kind of silly, absurd stuff or like deadpan, whatever. I'm open game. But for this, for some reason, it didn't quite work. I think it's because it begins by kind of presenting itself as something that's, you know, ostensibly set in the real world. You know, like a film like Booksmart, right? And you know, when they go into high school at the beginning of the film, they turn up at their lockers and there's like homophobic slurs written on their lockers. And I was like, oh, wow, that's an interesting, like that really kind of grounds the film a little bit. And then they are in the classroom and then this sort of voiceover announcement from the tannoy announcement from the principal. And he's like, will the untalented gays please come to my office? And I'm like, and some people like laughed at that point, but I was like, whoa. I was like, oh, so...
Is it like meant to be absurd?
Yeah, I was like, yes. I was like, oh, the parents, so the adults in this film are weird and crazy too. And sure enough, when they go to the principal's office, he's like a completely like buffoon character. Yeah. But the thing is that I've been really trying to find a way to describe it properly that isn't just like an insult to like the comedy that's happening. I've been really trying to think about why it doesn't work. And it's like every single character in this film is turning their comedic dials up to 11. And the way I can describe it is the whole film has improv group energy, right? Yeah. And in the sense that sometimes things will happen in scenes where it's like, wouldn't it be funny if this person said
this idea today?
And each character, each actor is like, oh, I'm going to get my character to do this. I'm going to get my character to do that. And then in the script, they're like, wouldn't it be funny if we said that? Which is fine in a way, but after a couple of scenes, I'm like, there is, for me, no consistency here about the type of comedy or anything to kind of ground it as well. So a character would like say something as a joke, and I'd be like, okay, I get that. And then two scenes later, they would say something as a different kind of joke, but I'd be like, yeah, but that contradicts what you said earlier. I felt really, really... I was kind of baffled a lot of the time. And I hate... It's really hard to describe this film because, you know, it was throwing lots of jokes at the screen and I would almost go to laugh when it would happen because I could see the beats coming. But then my brain would be like, yeah, but this comedy doesn't work.
You shouldn't have to try and make sense of a joke.
That's it. And I think it's because it really... There was no sort of foothold in like reality or maybe just the style wasn't full enough there. Maybe it wasn't like absurd enough because every so often they would do a scene where they tried to be real and talk about like relationships and like, and then I'd be like, yeah, but hang on, but you just did something in the previous scene which completely makes me think that all of this is absurd. But now you're trying to make me care about this thing. It's like, are you going to go full Airplane? Or are you actually going to make this a bit more something like Superbad? Like, I got really confused and there's, you know, the violence in this film is really punchy and like crunchy and I just got really bewildered and lost about where they were pointing the comedy, like where every single character, like I said, was dialing it up to 11, and like I said, it has this improv energy, which is like, oh my god, yeah, and wouldn't it be funny if you do that thing? And then you watch the scene, and you're like, where the hell did that come from? And it's not like, oh my god, that's so funny. There's a bit like where a character goes home and discovers her mum doing something. And this is relevant to the actual plot of the film as well, which and I think people sort of find, oh wow, and I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Where's that come from? But it's not absurdist enough because it also wants you to make you care in a plot. And I can hear myself getting tangled up in knots about this film, which is really stupid because it's not for me. There are people in my screening room who are really laughing and enjoying it.
Yeah.
But I sat there, and to be fair, a guy in his like mid-40s, like 2 seats down from me, we kind of sat there with kind of like a quizzical look on our face. We occasionally smirked and stuff, but I remember him saying to someone when he came in, it was like, "Oh, I'm really excited to see this. Yeah, my daughter showed it to me. I'm really, really keen to watch it." And we just sat there in stone silence. It's really bizarre. And just to back up what I mean about this improv energy is that sure enough, when you get to the end of the film, they then show the blooper reel and the reel of all the alternate takes of all the lines they tried. And I'm like, yeah, each scene, each line, and the whole film feels like they made it up as they were going along.
Right.
So it never really gelled together. And I don't necessarily need a comedy film to do that. You can have a film like Anchorman, which is so stupid, really stupid and absurd.
It's dialed in.
But it's like the plot of Anchorman is not really important. It's not making you want to care about
But all of those
stuff.
comedy sequences are very much... They're locked in. You're
Yeah.
not. They're synchronized like a dance.
Exactly, exactly. Whereas this...
People say that about This Is the End as well. They complain that, it feels like a bit like I'm watching these guys improv. Wouldn't it be funny if the version of the character I'm playing of myself said this at that moment, and it sometimes needs to be reined in?
And that's what I kind of feel. It's kind of in this for me, it kind of fell into this kind of nether zone of not being absurd enough to pull off some of the jokes that it wanted to do, but then also not being real enough to make the jokes that are there be ties to anything. And I was really... I was so sad at how quickly I realised that this film was just not making me laugh and just was not funny. And I felt frustrated. I got to the end, I thought, oh.
Because almost like if you say, this film isn't about me or about, things that I'm into. If it's funny, it should work. It should work.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like, I'm not the people represented on screen, therefore I can't find it funny. If it works, it really should work.
And I was thinking about like Barbie, and there are kind of like thematic overlaps with Barbie, and Barbie is loony and crazy and silly as well. But some of it really some of Barbie is really, really funny.
Yeah.
There's just nothing that funny in this. It's a lot of people going like, yeah. Character will then say something a little bit too far, a little bit outrageous, and people go, what? No, I just think, you're kind of like saying something a little bit strange.
Maybe when comedy's really arch and absurdist, like if you think of like Hot Fuzz, everybody else's lines are really weird, apart from Sergeant Angel, and he acts as a very good anchoring point for the audience to be like, I'm discovering everyone being strange with Sergeant Angel, and he plays quite an important comedic role for the whole film.
But also with a film like Hot Fuzz, the comedy is like machine tooled, scripted, everything is deliberate.
With every whip and camera.
It's not riffing. They haven't got to set and gone, okay, try out this thing. And I do find like it's much more of a tradition in American comedy with things. Improv is much bigger in America anyway.
SNL style.
SNL, Second City, Upright Citizens Brigade, where they've all come from comedic roots and they bring that kind of riffingness to movies, which you didn't get in something like Hot Fuzz, where it's machine tooled. I hear myself talking about this film, and I don't think I've done a great explainer because all I've basically said is, here's the film. I didn't really find it funny, and I don't really know why. But I think I even tried to find other reviews. A lot of the time, people are just absolutely glowing about it, and it could be that maybe I was caught off guard by how weird it is. If I knew that it was going to be so absurd, if I had seen the trailer and I got an idea of the tone, maybe that would include it in. But ultimately, I just don't think the jokes are that funny. I think some of the jokes are quite lame. They're quite like low level. Like I just don't think the jokes are that funny in the film.
Yeah,
sorry. Wouldn't it be crazy if this character did this thing? Hey, I got a bomb. What?
Not really. Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, there you go, guys. If you get the chance to see Bottoms and you have
also, sorry, I'm just interrupting you. Like
I do that.
I came home and I told Anna about it. She was like, "Why is it called Bottoms?" And I'm like, "Why indeed?" Because the idea is that they're like, we're the bottom of the bottom. No one wants us. We're the bottom of the group. We need to get up to cheerleaders. And I'm like, you guys are intelligent, attractive, and smart. Intelligent, attractive, and funny.
Do you know, like, when gay people are bottoms, it means that
no, it's not. But it's not.
It's not that.
Well, I thought it was going to be a gay thing.
Oh,
I thought it was going to be a gay pun, but it's not.
It's not. Oh, I thought that was it.
I thought it was going to be that. Unless it's in there and I missed it, which I guess I could have done. But like, there's literally a bit where she's like, "We are the bottom of the bottoms. We got to get up there."
Oh, okay, that's different then.
So it's like in between us. But I'm like, you're not. You're like really intelligent. You're really funny.
Yeah.
You're really attractive. Like you can't tell me that you're like Will McKenzie in the In-Betweeners.
Yeah.
Anyway, it wasn't for me.
Well, guys, if you've seen Bottom, if you are a bottom and you had some different thoughts on the film, please send them in to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. Or if you agree with George, we'd love to hear from you as well.
Yeah, please do, because I'd love to hear, with all films, it wasn't for me, but if people out there, if they enjoyed it and it found its audience, great.
Yeah, I'm actually more interested to hear from people who like maybe feel slightly differently from their experience of the film than us. Because I love hearing from like the Killers of the Flower Moon people who are like, oh my God, isn't it great?
Yeah.
And we're like, oh my God, yeah, isn't it great too? But yes, would love to hear more impressions. I might try and see it when it's out. But
when I came out, there was a group of women behind me, and they were talking with each other like, "Oh, it's so funny the way it kind of like inverted tropes and how anarchic it is." And I was kind of like, "Well, I'm glad you guys found that. I can see it being anarchic, but I just didn't think it was funny."
There's also some comedies which people really think are off the cuff that aren't. Like everyone's like, "Oh, Curb Your Enthusiasm, like it must be so improvised."
Yeah.
And Larry David in every interview, it's like, no, like it's a script, and it's locked in. And we rehearse it until it's right and it's executed. Yeah. And like there's like people do little bits in the beginning, but they also know their character better. But like the vision is very much locked in. And I think it's sort of an illusion sometimes, the idea of something being what's the word, improvised. When actually like you can tell when something feels like it doesn't edit nicely sometimes when things are improvised.
Yeah. Anyway, I've vented my spleen enough.